Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of the Scarlet and Gray podcast. I am Tyler Johnson. I am joined by Jordan Dalton. JD, how we doing tonight, man?
Not too bad, man. Pretty excited to get back to the pod grind.
Yep. Hey, man. There's been a lot to talk about here since the college football season ended. A lot of Ohio State news, believe it or not, during this time, including some big-time departures. Before we get to all that, guys, if you are joining us on Facebook or Twitter tonight, please join us over on YouTube. Go over to the Network 216 YouTube channel where you can subscribe over there for free. We are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of winter, and we're close. We are 69 subscribers away. So go over there. Give us a sub. Also, drop a like on the video, which helps the channel algorithm grow. We really would appreciate that. And before we get into anything for tonight's show, we want to make sure we hear from our daily fantasy sponsor, Underdog Fantasy.
What's up, everybody? We know that daily fantasy never stops, and Network 216 is proud to be a partner with Underdog Fantasy. Very simple to use. All you have to do is go to underdogfantasy.com and you will just click the sign in button. You'll create an account if you haven't done so already. If you've not created an account, it'll ask you to enter code 216, and they will double your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy, live draft lobbies that you get to compete with you and your friends. It's no salary cap like DraftKings and FanDuel. You get to go to a draft lobby, pick the players you want, or you can do daily pick'ems, which give you access to all the NFL and NBA games for you to make your picks every single night. Again, go to underdogfantasy.com or use the Underdog Fantasy app on iOS or Android. Use code 216 to double your first deposit up to $100. Sign up today.
And JD, the first big piece of news to get into is some of the major departures. We knew about Jackson Smith and Jigba. Paris Johnson Jr. is off to the NFL. As expected, he'll probably be easily a first-round pick. But quarterback C.J. Stroud, he, much like Justin Fields, took until the last day to declare for the NFL draft. What are you going to most remember C.J. Stroud for? He talked about once he lost to Michigan that he might not be looked on as having really much of a legacy at Ohio State. How will you best remember C.J. Stroud?
Well, I think the fact that he did never beat Michigan is you could say tainted his legacy a little bit. But, I mean, statistically, if he stayed a third season, he probably would have led in every single major category for a quarterback in terms of touchdowns, passing yards, completions, and completion percentage. So he was on pace to statistically be, and you could argue that he is the best quarterback statistically that Ohio State has ever had, just in terms of sheer numbers. So I think he's in. He won't be in an Ohio State jersey anymore, but he's always going to represent the Ohio State University. So, if he ends up going on to have a really successful professional career, people are going to look back at his time at Ohio State a little bit more fondly. I mean, you look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, he never even played for Ohio State, but the Buckeye fans love to claim Joe Burrow and all the success he's had in the NFL. So I couldn't see it being any different for C.J. Stroud, especially if he goes to like Detroit or a team that's like on the cusp of being really good. Because like if he went to Detroit, that team, they might take a leap next year, honestly. So I think that'll be interesting just to see where his career goes from here. And I think as much as it's nitpicky or not quite as popular to say, but I think his professional career is really going to affect how people view his college career.
Yeah, that seems to happen a lot. I mean, people were kind of down on Justin Fields until he had the season he did. Yeah. Even though there were still rumors that the Bears could possibly trade him and then draft Bryce Young with the number 1 pick. Looks like that's not going to happen. But with CJ Stroud, again, your legacy at Ohio State, like it or not, is determined whether or not you beat Michigan. It's the way it is. It's the way it always will be. CJ Stroud, unfortunately, did not beat Michigan, but it doesn't mean it's like he just wasn't a good football player or was not like one of the greatest Buckeye quarterbacks we've ever seen, and he really is. He set some records at Ohio State and would have set every single record if he returned. So, fantastic player, and he should have gone. I know there were rumors that he might was considering staying. I'll be on record and say this: it would have been a mistake for him to return. From the standpoint, you're costing yourself a ton of money, and the draft class in 2024 is going to be even better than this year. So he needs to go, and he needed to go and get the money that he deserves. And I wish him all the best. I think you kind of talked about it. I hope he goes to a good situation. I look at the Texans at number 2. They could possibly take him. I think they're going to go Bryce Young, but the Colts still need a quarterback. It'll all depend if these teams trade for a veteran or sign a free agent. But even if they sign a free agent, you can still go out and draft CJ Stroud. But there's a lot of good fits for him. I think Atlanta would be a lot of fun, given the weapons they have there. And I think their quarterback, Carolina, needs a quarterback. And I'm telling you, I like what Carolina's doing. But not too much NFL talk. I think he just needs a good fit. And I wish him all the best. It's unfortunate he couldn't beat Michigan. But again, it's not all him. It really, at the end of the day, it was not all CJ Stroud when it came to beating Michigan. It wasn't.
And then you look at his last game against Georgia, was
best game of his career.
Best game of his career. And so it's just when you don't get the win, people are going to look at it differently than if you came out on top. So
yeah,
if he would have run the table, beat Georgia, and then go on to beat TCU, win the national championship, we wouldn't even be having a conversation of where he ranked. He'd be top 3 all time, easy. And it's just the fact that he never got to that next level, never beat Michigan, which kind of tainted his legacy, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is unfortunate in that regard, man, for sure. But again, wish CJ all the best. He was so much fun to watch as a Buckeye. We'll never forget it. JD, besides CJ Stroud, who is the biggest loss for the Buckeyes that will be heading to the NFL draft? In your opinion, who do you think is the biggest loss?
I think Paris Johnson's huge, just because he's been that anchor since his freshman year. He's on the offensive line that's always been consistent. Like you said, should be a first-round pick this year.
Easily, yeah.
So I think he's going to be a big loss, and it's always hard to replace an experienced offensive lineman. And that's on any level, whether that's pro or college. So I think that's going to have an effect, especially since we have a new quarterback next year, and we're not sure who that's going to be.
That's going to be a fun discussion here.
It will be fun. It will be fun. I'm really excited for spring football. Get to read all the reports coming out of training camp. See who's making strides, who's not. Kevin McCord seems to have the advantage. Huh?
Kyle McCord.
Did I not say Kyle?
You said Kevin.
I did not say Kevin. I said Kyle.
I promise you said Kevin McCord.
I said Kyle McCord. No way.
All right, man. All right.
So anyways, Kyle McCord, he seems to have the advantage going in. And then Devin Brown and Luke Reinholtz, right?
Lincoln Reinholtz, yeah.
Lincoln Reinholtz.
Reinholtz or something like that. Dude, I can't say his last name, so don't feel bad about that one.
I'm sure we'll all know it by the end of the year because he'll be starting. But it'll be interesting. I mean, that's going to be a good little QB battle. We haven't had one in a couple of years since. Did CJ even have a battle with McCord? Really?
Yes. CJ Stroud and Kyle McCord battled for the job, I believe. They were both the young guys coming in. CJ had the upper hand going in, though, because Kyle McCord, I believe, was just a freshman. So CJ had the upper hand with that.
pretty similar.
Either way, that's going to be a huge battle to watch over the spring. I think for me, I think Paris Johnson Jr. is the obvious one because you're losing 3 starters on the offensive line, which I cannot stress enough is not a good situation, regardless if you're Ohio State or whoever you are. But for me, the biggest loss is going to be Lathan Ransom. That one's tough because he had a great year. Huh?
Are we losing Eichenberg also?
No, I was going to get into that. No, Tommy Eichenberg and Steel Chambers are staying, but you're losing one of the best, statistically one of the best safeties in college football this past year. You're bringing in guys that replace him via the transfer portal, which we'll talk transfer portal one of these shows here. But I think Lathan Ransom's a huge loss here because he was one of the key pieces of this defense. He had a great year, and I think he should leave because when you have a year like that, you could improve by coming back to school. Also, we've seen in the past, you can also take a dive and not play well. And so I think it's smart for him to go to the draft.
Well, I will say the safety room is one of the better rooms on the team this year.
Proctor's coming back, which helps. He's come back for a 6th year.
Ronnie Hickman, is he gone? Is he staying?
I believe Hickman is gone.
I think he's
I'll
gone.
figure that one out. I'm pretty sure Ronnie Hickman is gone, but I'll figure that one out.
Even we have who's the true freshman? I got a lot of playing time this year.
Sonny Styles and Tanner McAllister declared for the draft too.
Yeah. So we got some young guys coming out, but that Ransom played his butt off this year.
Yeah, we're losing Ransom and Hickman for sure.
All right,
and McAllister. You're actually losing all 3 safeties.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, we'll talk about, like I said, later on, next couple weeks, who we brought in as replacements to kind of analyze them. Looks like some pretty good names, but either way, that's who we lost. I think we need to talk about now. But before we do, kind of move on and who we're bringing back and even some people we're adding. JD, it's cold, man. It was supposed to be warm here today, actually 59 degrees. It turned out to be in the 30s. But having when I go outside, take the dog out, I have my Homage gear on all the time. There's nothing that is going to be warmer for one. I don't even need a hat either when I go outside, dude, because it's like cotton in here. It's so warm. So you're not going to find anything more comfortable. What are you rocking?
All right, so we got Nate in Ohio. Look at this thing.
Oh, dude, yes, I love it.
We got him a little 6 to 9 months, so he's going to be growing into this in a couple weeks.
Yes.
Got him a little Homage gear, it's got the little logo. That's
sick, dude. I'm glad. I didn't even know they had baby clothes. That's sweet.
Yeah, they got baby clothes. I just finished washing all of my hoodie. All my stuff's in the wash right now because I'm wearing it all the time. But I got that sick crew hoodie I wore last time we did a show. And then I got I'm not a Blue Jackets fan, but I got a Blue Jackets crew neck. That's pretty sick. So
man. Can't go wrong.
I know you can't. It's so soft. You just
well, dude,
soft, cool designs, all that.
And like JD said, they got baby clothes. So if you're looking for some clothes for a newborn, Homage has everything you guys need. Just go to their website. If you're a first-time user of Homage Athletic Apparel, they're actually going to send you a 10% discount. Now, how do you get that? All you have to do, you'll type in your email address at the very beginning, and then when you're shopping, you'll be able to use that discount code at the end. So go to Homage, go shop them. Again, Network 216 is proud to be a partner of Homage. You guys aren't going to find anything that's more comfortable and has that retro look that a lot of us like. So go to homage.com and tell them that Network 216 sent you. You're going to be happy. You're going to be happy with your purchase. There's no doubt in my mind. I would be broke if I bought every single thing that I ever wanted from Homage. So, and we're not just saying that because we're sponsored by them. It's just the reality.
You buy something.
They have everything, dude.
Yeah. You can literally go on there, buy something, and you'll be like, this is the nicest shirt and the most soft, and I want 5 more because I have about 10 shirts in my closet that are from Homage. I got 2 sweatshirts, crew neck. I stocked up. So
yeah, love it. Well, JD, we had some news. Brian Hartline interviewed, like we talked about, for the Cincinnati job, reportedly, Cincinnati head coaching job, but Ohio State has kept him. Brian Hartline has been promoted to offensive coordinator. I can't stress enough how big it was keeping him. So the question I want to ask you, because I think it is a very good question, is Brian Hartline, because there are a lot of them in college football, is Brian Hartline, though, the most valuable assistant coach in college football?
Well, we could have made this argument last season, and I believe we did, talking about his wide receiver room and the job he did recruiting for the offense, just in terms of wide receivers. And the amount of talent he's brought in. I'm sure you've seen the pictures, and most of the people I've seen the pictures on social media of the wide receivers that he has sent to the NFL and the success that he's had. You look at this past season, Olave and Garrett Wilson were 1 and 2 in yards in the NFL. For rookie receivers, Jameson Williams was a number 1 pick. He ended up playing for Alabama for a season. And then you look at the amount of talent that has been brought into the room just over his tenure as wide receiver coach. And I don't think in history of college football there's ever been more talent in a wide receiver room. And I'm not just saying that as a Ohio State fan. I'm saying that legitimately. Like, you look at Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't play this year. He's going to be he'll definitely be sneaking in first round, second round.
If he's a second round pick, NFL GMs are stupid. I'm just going to say
it's a steal. It's possible, especially with the way NFL receivers are trending. Like having really early success, the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chases of the world, Olave, Wilson. So yeah, I can definitely see him sliding in the first round pretty easily. And then to top that off, you have Ibuka, Harrison Jr. Harrison Jr. is going to be a top 10 pick. I don't even think there's a question about that.
Oh, dude, I'll take it a step further. I believe, depending on who is picking, Marvin Harrison is top 5 for 1. And I'm not saying this is going to happen. But you did mention the way wide receivers are trending in the NFL. It's a passing league now. You get the right team there. The highest receiver's ever gone is number 2. That was Calvin Johnson to the Detroit Lions. I'm not ruling it out that Marvin Harrison Jr. could go number 1. I'm really not. He is that type of talent.
Yeah.
It would not shock me.
And when NFL GMs love to look at pedigree, they love to look at, family history in terms of athletic ability. You have a son of a NFL Hall of Fame wide receiver that is bigger, faster, and just as savvy in his route running. I don't know if there's a better example of pure talent on the football field than what we've seen from Marvin Harrison Jr. past 2 seasons that would warrant a number 1 pick. So I think I totally agree with you. I think that's not out of the realm of possibility. And like I said, worst case scenario, he gets injured this year, knock on wood, and he still goes top 10.
Yeah, absolutely. No, man.
It's worst case scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a fantastic talent, but I think overall Brian Hartline is just so valuable to Ohio State, and it's gotten to the point where you have to promote him. If you don't, and he can say how much he loves Ohio State. If his goal is to one day be a head coach, I mean, yeah, he loves Ohio State, but if that is your ultimate goal one day, it might not be here if you don't keep promoting him. Now, if you have a situation where Ryan Day is spotty, he's on the hot seat a little bit, I'd say, if you lose to Michigan again. But you have that. Brian Hartline, man, he might be waiting his turn to get this job. So we'll see what happens there.
Well, and I think the reason he didn't take that Cincinnati job was purely on the fact he knew coming down the pipeline that he was up for the OC position.
Mm-hmm.
I think he knew, like, so Kevin Wilson left. I'm going to be the next one, and he still interviewed for Cincy just to see what they had to offer. But he wants to become the head coach of Ohio State football one day, and he's going up. He's trying to earn his position that way. I truly believe that. I think one day he will be the head coach of Ohio State football, whether that's next off season or 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line. But there's going to be, if we start having success offensively, there's going to be people calling, and you can already see it. People want Brian Hartline on their staff. They want him coaching their teams because not only is he a valuable coach, he's a valuable recruiter. And in an environment where we haven't gotten into this, where recruiting has taken a complete 180 from past years. Brian Hartline was doing this prior to NIL, and he's still having success with NIL. And for some reason, Ohio State doesn't like giving money for NIL. Whatever's going on, we're going to talk about this later, I'm sure. But whatever's going on in Ohio State with recruiting right now is it does not look good. So
yeah, man. I mean, with Hartline, it's a situation too. Even if he does go somewhere, because if Ryan Day keeps winning and eventually wins the title, you keep Ryan Day, clearly. Brian Hartline's a situation where he could go somewhere, get a job, succeed, and Ohio State hires him back one day. Absolutely, that's possible, I believe. And talk about earning your really working your way up the ladder. Someone else who has just joined the Ohio State coaching staff is kind of in a similar boat. Ohio State has named James Laurinaitis as a graduate assistant coach that is going to be working heavily with the linebacking group. What are your thoughts on adding James Laurinaitis? Now, keep in mind, he came from Marcus Freeman's staff at Notre Dame, where he also was a GA assistant. It sounds like he was working with line. For some reason, he left Notre Dame. We don't really know why. I'm kind of curious about that one. What are your thoughts about adding James Laurinaitis as a position coach? Do you think that he can bring back that silver bullet mentality at the linebacker position and get Ohio State linebackers back to where they used to be at the top of college football?
Yeah, I don't know what the reasoning behind it is. Obviously, he was coaching under one of his former teammates in Marcus Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe he just felt like there was more opportunity at Ohio State. I don't know. I really don't know why he would have switched staffs like that.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of a player, in terms of him being a linebacker in the NFL and having experience, I was thinking about this the other day. Is in college football, it's pretty common for players to come back and coach at their alma maters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were just talking about Brian Hartline. He played for Ohio State for 3 or 4 years, and so it's pretty common. Maybe he just felt like it was a better fit for him personally, and we do have a really good linebacker room coming back. So maybe he was hoping to use that as a stepping stone, and then he knows after this year Hickman or Eichenberg and Chambers are gone, and he can kind of put a little bit more influence on some of these younger guys that are going to be coming in. So I'm excited to have him back. He's one of my favorite players of all time. Reason I wore number 33 when I was in Pee Wee football, and I couldn't be more excited to have him back on the sidelines in Columbus.
Yeah, the fact that James Laurinaitis is coming back, I mean, one of the greatest linebackers in Ohio State's history. I think he's going to make a huge difference, and I think this is a good trial to see if he can be a guy that one day you can add him to the staff as and maybe he becomes a defensive coordinator at some point. I mean, he's still very young too. Yeah. I mean, he was he was on 97.1 The Fan in Columbus, had a radio show for a while. I mean, he had a good solid NFL career. This is a guy that I would love to see him really making a difference at Ohio State, and he's someone else that maybe they're able to keep promoting him within, kind of he moves up the Brian Hartline tree the way Brian Hartline did, or he gets another opportunity somewhere else. So I think it's awesome to see this kind of thing, man. I mean, anytime you have alumni come back, it's always cool. I mean, we grew up watching James Laurinaitis and Brian Hartline. I mean, we were younger, but still. And the fact that now they're on this coaching staff, I think that's so cool. And if you're a recruit, I mean, okay, at some point, yes, we will talk NIL, but also the legacy of Brian Hartline, you know what it is at Ohio State. He was a fantastic wide receiver. And, I mean, the recruits he's brought in are just next level. You now have James Laurinaitis that's going to be coaching Ohio State linebackers. As a linebacker, you have the opportunity to go to Ohio State and learn from one of the greatest linebackers in the school's history. Like, that would intrigue me right there. I mean, again, NIL is the king, and that's all that matters these days. But you also just have that opportunity that truly, like, not everybody gets. Not every school can go and be like, and have their former stars in your living room. James Laurinaitis can go to someone's house that's a linebacker, 5-star recruit, and say, "Come to Ohio State." That immediately, if you're considering the Buckeyes, that would get your attention right there. Just James Laurinaitis being there. So it's gonna be exciting, dude. I'm pumped to see what he does with the coaching staff, for sure. Like what he does as a coach, and I think Ryan Day is putting together an excellent staff. Even though we lost Kevin Wilson, can't complain about the upgrades we made. So it's gonna be fun.
I was thinking about this, TJ. How much say do you think Brian Hartline's going to have in the offense?
A good amount. He's calling plays in the spring.
He is.
He will. He's calling plays this spring to determine how successful it is. If he will be calling them in the fall. That's basically what Ryan Day said. I think it'll go well, and I think Brian Hartline will be the play caller.
I was going to say that because we're hearing a lot of things from Ryan Day saying that he needs to focus more on the team as a whole than the offense. And then bringing in Brian Hartline is really intriguing because, like I said, he's one of those guys that's going to be up for a head coaching job here in the next couple of years. And he's going to need that experience. So whether the head coaching job's at Ohio State or at Cincinnati or wherever it may be, I think he wouldn't have made that decision if he didn't think he was going to get an opportunity to play call. So
exactly, dude. And I think also, I mean, and we will never know this, I think Ryan Day might have been told that maybe, hey, I think you need to give up play calling. And then you need to, like, you see that from time to time. You see it in the NFL all the time. And I'm not trying to say that that's what happened here, but the fact that Ryan Day, after having us a field goal away from a national title game, all of a sudden is like, I need to be giving up plays and focusing on the team.
He called an amazing game against Georgia. It was an amazing game.
Oh, he was there. I have no complaints offensively. I don't know how you can. And
there was definitely questions throughout the year, but that semifinal game, he erased all the questions, I think.
Absolutely. Guys, we appreciate you tuning into this episode of the Scarlet and Gray podcast. Like we said, episode 1 for season 2. Going to be we're going to be trying to have episodes here about every other week or so. Just depends on our schedules and whatnot, but also just it's the off season. Not necessarily a whole lot of content right now, but again, we'll still try and do every other week or 2 weeks, whatever we can do. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at the SG_podcast. We really would appreciate that. Again, if you're joining us on Facebook, on Twitter, go over to the YouTube channel, give us that subscribe. We would really appreciate that. Again, on the road to 1,000 subscribers, we can't do it without all of you. So less than 69 subscribers away. Go subscribe, like the video as well to help Network 216 as a channel grow. We're back tomorrow night with more content here on the channel. We have the Yard Dogs podcast at 7 o'clock, followed by the Barking Browns show at 8 to bring you all the latest Cleveland Browns offseason coverage and NFL coverage. So, again, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Scarlet and Gray podcast. We will talk to you all again soon, and go Bucks.